Okay, I'm a little bit early, but I imagine I will have a few folks join me. Hi, glad to have you here. And let me see who that is. It's Irvin. Good to see you here. If you would, please go ahead and I'll mute everybody so we can go along. Now, we're going to go ahead here and come down to the modules section. And again, I'm glad to have you here. Let me scroll us down. And we are in the modules. Good. And we're going to take a look at today. We're in week, I believe this is week 11, if I'm not mistaken. And it sure is. And here's what we've got. Excel case 12 and 13 are due today, although you should have done them already. And that should be taken care of. Now, next week, there's no class meeting because of flex time. Now, I want to take a little bit and explain what I mean. These 4 assignments, Access 1, 2, 3, and 4, we have done them. They're completed. You should have uploaded them by now, okay? And there's no class meeting. Now, what will happen is I will log in, okay, and be here in the event somebody has a question, all right? And I'll put it in like BISS 1123 B Q&A, okay? And so if you have a question, I'll be here to answer it for you, or maybe like a class. I'll set maybe like a virtual office, but there will be no official class meeting time because we'll have done those assignments. Now, if you look, you'll see the same thing here for the 13th, week 13, okay? And the same thing for week 14. And then, of course, we move into finals week. Now, as you can see, the reason being, here's what we've got going on. We've got the Excel function paper, okay? And I'm not going to do any random call presentations. The presentations aren't necessary. All I'm going to do is the paper, and then the spatial analysis exercise that's due, and we've finished cases, access case 5 and 6. So the flex time is for you to get ready to. You should turn in your function paper. And it's really just a presentation, or maybe a Word document with some screencasts. Choose a function that's somewhat useful, and then the spatial analysis exercise, and those two. Now we've done these two, the two access cases. Now obviously we come down to finals week, and I've said before, you do have the opportunity, if you wish, to work on the final at your ahead. So you can do it ahead of time if you want to. In fact, I have instructions for final exam part 1, and as I tell you, where I mention where I mention Moodle. Think Canvas, because I did these when we were using Moodle, and then they finally decided to do Canvas. And part 1, one piece of it is you'll upload an a Microsoft Access file. So there's that part. Then you have an a Microsoft Excel file, and you'll see these in the instructions. Then final exam part 2. Part 3 and part 4. These 3 are due at the end of the final exam period. So your final exam period for this section of a business problem analysis is from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. May 16th. And the 3 exams, part 2, 3, and 4, they are due. Now they're each 40 minutes, and frankly, I wouldn't put myself under the pressure of trying to do them all at once. That's why I'm giving you the flex time to work ahead, okay? And work ahead as far as you want. If you have everything all done, good for you. Then you're in a position to go ahead and work on some other stuff. That's as I've done throughout. I've tried to build in some flexibility for you if you care to do it. Now, I'd say if you do take these exams during the final exam period, okay, and you're taking them remote, you don't have to be in the classroom over there in BBC to take them. But please note that if you have technological problems, it's on you. It's your problem. So that's why I would say better that you do them, that you get them done before the final exam period. And so that if something goes wrong, you have some recourse, because once we're here and the class is over, I can't do anything to help you. Now, the final exam part one, these kind of the hands-on portion, is due at the start of the final exam period. Okay, so the hands-on part is due at the start of the final exam period. The objective or the test quiz or the objective test part, that's due at the end of the final exam period. All right, and as far as final exam part one, I do have a screencast for you that you can take a look at. All right, and that will explain what I'm after. Now, again, I want to note to you that when you come into the final exam period and you're working, let me say this, if I were you, I would get those final exam quizzes. I'd get them done and out of the way, so that something happens, you can contact me and I can try to find out what I can do to help out. If not, and it's that day, especially if you're remote, you're not on campus, you're in trouble. So let's look at this for just a moment. And there's a screencast of instructions. Okay, and so you'll need to you can watch that screencast. And where I mention Moodle, I really mean Canvas. Okay, and I'm gonna have to go back and work through it. And I have my final exam schedule there. The file for this is 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on May the 17th, May the 16th, excuse me. Okay, now let me walk back up here and let's talk about this spatial analysis exercise. So I'm going to do a quick search. And so Irvin come in. Who else is here? Glad to see you, Jesus. Good. Glad to see you. And I'm going to do Control F. See if I can find it there. It's not giving me the ability to search that. That's weird. Well, let me pop down here, and I think I'll show you the instructions. Okay. All right. Maybe I have the instructions embedded here. Let's see what we got going on. Nope. See instructions. So the best place to find those is probably going to be over here in the, it's either going to be up here in this welcome module where I keep all this stuff. Okay. And we'll go up here for a minute and then scroll down. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, now before I go any further, let me talk about this. This PDF has the resources for the exams, okay? And that will also include the final exam, if I'm not mistaken. So let's look at this for just a minute. All right. No, oh, it's just the exams, not the finals. Okay. But you can pretty much trust the final will be pulled from what we did in one and what we did in one and two. Now, I'm going to go back into the files section. I'm going to find the instructions for spatial analysis. Okay, and this is the spatial analysis. So let's download this, and here are the instructions. Okay. So you'll have to go over into the files section to find it. And what I'm going to have you do is there's a retail location, and I've had you select it, and I have you go through, okay, a series of steps using some tools out there like Esri zip code lookup, Esri tapestry, it's zip code lookup. Google Earth layer, Google Maps. So you'll find the instructions over here in the files section. So you just follow those steps, and that's what I want to have you do. Now, as I said before, for the final exam, and let's look at this for a minute. Yeah, here are the instructions for the final exam, part 1. Remember, parts 2, 3, and 4 are objective tests. And I have you a footnote, okay, that gives you some more information. But I'm basically going to ask you to do these things. Now, you'll need to go over to, you're going to need to take a look at this. How do we fix Snap like that? That has some records. You're going to go do some data mining. And I just walk you through that. I have you get some data, then put it into Access. I mean, put it into Excel and put it into Access. And let me go back here for a minute. And you'll ask, where's the file? Let's see if we can find it. And let's just do how. So what you'll have to do is go over to the supplemental website. Now that's why I'm doing this, and and next week I'll give a short blurb on on what we're doing there and how to get to some of this stuff. Again, here's the supplemental website. There's the link to it. Okay, and you'll see you can search through those materials, and you can search for how. And you'll find that how do we fix Snap like that? Okay, and that's the data set you're going to use to perform the access and the access and Excel tasks for final exam number 1. Okay. Now, we've looked at the supplemental website, and I want to go back out here to the modules. So we've talked about the spatial analysis, and I have, like I say, I showed you where to get the materials for final exam number part 1, and it's that how do we deal with an app like that? It's a comma separated value, and I give you a set of instructions on taking that data and wrangling it and getting it into Access, and then doing something with it in Excel as well. Okay, and so that's final exam part 1, and then of course part 2, 3, and 4 of the final exam are those are the objective quizzes. All right, and we've also we talked about the spatial analysis, and that's just following those tasks there that are outlined. They're outlined, and now we go down, and there's one other thing, and let's go down here, and this is the function paper. Okay, and saying that it's a paper is, you know, look, it really is a misnomer. Okay, I'm going to click on it, and I've talked about it some, and I'll be doing this from here on out. We need to go over to the syllabus, so let's go back over to the files, and let's put syllabus, and there's the syllabus. I'll download it. And as we walk through here, we'll come down. There's a supplemental website for the text. Now, here is the information about the Excel function paper. Now, I'm not going to ask people to do any presentations, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and let's do this. I'm going to bring this up in terms of the size to make it a little easier for all of us to see, me included. Oh, wait a minute, I didn't want to do that. Let's just download this silly thing. There we go. Now I'm in a spot where I can do something with this. Let's go ahead and bump that up to 150, make it really easy. And we'll do the search. Here we go. Okay, now I don't want you to do anything that's rudimentary. And I mentioned that, okay? And as I tell you, I want you to to develop a written report. I'm talking about 3 pages, 4 at the very most. It should have, I'm kind of evolving this as time goes along. I'm not after a formal paper as much as I'm after either a slideshow, for example, where you show me how to use a particular function and why you would use it, or you could have a Word document where you show me how it's used. But I want to see screenshots at the very least that show me how the function works. And then I want, maybe you can go to Microsoft Office and get some and look over there and use some and cite their documentation. You could use a function that we've used in one of our Excel cases. All right. And I want to see that you know how to use it. Now, I've had some people say, could I upload an Excel file with notes in it or insert text or insert notes? Certainly. But I just want to see that you explain to me why you chose it, what that function does, and how it works. Okay? So don't overthink this. Don't overthink it. That's all I can say. I'm going to be going through all this now, as you probably would surmise, for the next week or next 2 or 3. This class is the next couple of classes. just simply because I know people will get all confused. So it's probably not a bad idea to listen to this today, okay, and then go back and make some notes. Now, as I said, this is 1123B, Section B, and of course, Section A has a class tomorrow, and I'll go through the same spiel with them and as well. And then next week, I'll kind of do a quick gloss over of what's coming up and where to get the materials and all of that, okay? You know, the spatial analysis, that one, the final exam, okay? Part one, you know, part A1 and A2 is just access to the Excel. And we talked about the spatial analysis exercise. And so I think, you know, that will get people started. Now, I'm going to go back over here for a moment. All right. And make sure we're still recording and we're good. All right. Now, and I won't be doing any random calls or any of that stuff this time. And the spatial analysis, okay? And let's see if there's anything else there as we come down on these, these last few weeks of these projects to get done. And let's see. And as I said, what I will be doing is just kind of going over this, talking about it, and going from there. Okay. Yeah, we're in week 10. So we're in good shape. Yeah. Okay. Now, what you've got ahead of you this week, I'm sorry about that, I jumped a week ahead. XLS 11, we've done that. Exam 2, part 1, that's due on the 12th. Okay. And the 12th, of course, is Thursday. And then exam 2, part 2, I give you some instructions. And I also showed you some examples, and I asked you to upload exam 2, part 2 here. Okay. And that's, you know, that's pretty much it. Now, you know, what I probably will do is I'll stay on here a while for some questions if people have them. But beyond that, you know, probably what you'll want to do is after I shut this thing off and post this, all right, you'll probably want to go back and take some notes on where I found everything. And I intend to repeat that. I'll repeat that next week. Let's see. For next week would be the 16th. And I wanted to, and just here's kind of a programming note. I have a meeting over in Bailey at 10 o'clock. I'm not sure how long it will run, and I don't know how many of the people who will be in the class, who will be in the meeting with me, have an 11 o'clock class like I do. Okay, so I may be a little bit late, but I'll do a screencast. And if I can get the meeting finished and run up there and screencast it, I will do. I will probably send all of you a note and simply say, count on me, you know, being up there by 11:50. If I'm not there by 11:15, you know, count me out, okay? and that means I'll have to post a I'll have to post a pre-recorded session. Again, though, I may do a pre-recorded session. It's that time of the year. And let me be honest with you, everybody. You know, when you're a senior faculty member like I am, you have to do a lot. You have to do some work with junior faculty and evaluating them and visiting their classes and all that bits. And then I have other committees I'm on. So I get drawn into a lot of that, especially near the end of the year. And so it just becomes problematic. And when folks schedule a session at 10 in the morning, it's kind of tough. So if I get a little queasy, probably what I will do is just go ahead and do a pre-recorded screencast and go through the instructions again. I'll let you know what I'm going to do. Okay, my preference, I'll be there, so my preference will be to do a live screencast there in the classroom. But I'm just going to be going over these end of course tasks and things that you've got going on, and we'll go from there. Now again, this week you've done XLS 11, so that's out of the way. Exam 2, Part 1. That's an objective exam, and you can go up there into that welcome section. Okay. I'll come down here. And the resources for the exams. That's Exam 2, Part 1. And then, of course, Exam 2, Part 2, I have instructions for you. And in fact, I give you 2 examples. These are screencasts. And then you can upload your work there. Okay? So we're down at that point. Now, I often say this, and students don't believe me. This is, I think, the toughest part of the course, because you're working on your own, and you have here's what you got ahead of you to do. You've got the spatial analysis. You get the function paper, okay, and the spatial analysis exercise. That's 2 items right there. Then you have the final, Part 1, which is the hands-on piece, and then Part 2, which is the objective items. And so those are things that you need to get done. And so that's why if I do anything, I may just set up like a Q&A link, an invitation to a Q&A, and be over here during class time if somebody has a question or something like that. All right, so it'll be more like 20-30 minutes or so, something like that. And there's a reason I do this. This is for you to test yourself to see if you've grown up enough to work independently, to be given assignments and to get them completed without having somebody stand over you to make sure they get done. Now, sometimes I have transfer students who are a little bit older, maybe a little insulted by that, or some of you who are really super good students, don't be insulted by that. There are also that group of folks who sometimes they have to learn the hard way that, when you're working and you're out in the world, your boss will give you a task. They'll assume that it's going to get done. And you have to learn to manage your time, and you have to learn to be self-motivated. And that's a piece of my course. You see, a lot of these things, for example, like, some of these extra things like Wolfram on the Golden Rule, or a short history of accounting ratios, or big charts, these resources, I never test you on them. I never would. But they're there for the person who says, I'm making an investment in a business career. I want to have some advanced knowledge. I want to learn a little bit at a little bit deeper level and challenge myself intellectually. And so I don't make you do that by giving you an assignment and awarding you points. I don't try to entice you into doing it by giving you extra points. I bring it there and leave it there and say, if you're really serious, this is something you'll take a look at. If you're really serious about what you're doing. And for many people, I understand they just want to get out of school, they want a degree, and that's it. For others, it's I want to be a top tier business student. I want to be a top tier business leader. And so I give you some opportunity to expand some of what we do in the content here to see some advanced applications of it, or to go to just simply take a look at it and go at a deeper level and see some of the theoretical constructs that underlie all this. And I'm unapologetic about that, because it's your life, it's your money, it's your career, and you'll get out of this course what you invest in. And that's really the truth. Yeah, it's easy to make a good grade in this course. What it's hard to do is to really, really discipline and train yourself to get the maximum out of the course. Okay. And I find out about that when I get down to, when we get to these cases, pardon me, when we get down to these, I can see it in the hands-on parts, part 2 of these exams. And then as we move down here into things, the spatial analysis exercise, the Excel function paper, okay, and then the hands-on part of the final, I learn a lot about you. You learn a lot about you in terms of what you can or cannot do. Well, folks, that's it for today, and I appreciate you being here. Monday, I will either be running up the stairs and plugging in my computer and getting online. Let me say this: if I'm not there by 11:15, I probably will just have to do a screencast. I don't know how. I assume our meeting will go from 10 to 11. I hope so. If I get skittish about it, I may just go ahead and pre-record a session, okay? And then I may pre-record a session, or do it like an office hours and say, for you guys, if you've got questions about what we're doing, okay, I'm here to answer them. And like you saw, as you can tell, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet. I'm going to have to figure that out. I really hate to do another pre-recorded thing. I've done a lot of those. I prefer to do it live, but I have a meeting at 10 o'clock, and even though I'm in Bailey, it may last till 11, so I don't want people all, skittish. So what I probably will do is do a pre-recorded short one and explain, here's where you find this stuff, here's where you find this stuff, and hopefully people will take notes, and that way they don't get into a thing of emailing me desperately, where did I find this, where do I find that? Okay, well, I think we're at that point now where I can go ahead and I'm going to stop the share, and I'll post this, and again, thank you, the 3 of you who are here. And I'm certain that we have other people who probably ought to be here, but hopefully they'll see the screencast. I do want all of you to know, those of you who are here with me right now, and those of you who will view this, I can see and I can tell who does and who does not watch a screencast in any given week. A Canvas tells me everything in terms of analytics and what you view and all that. So, I know who's dialing in, who's following along, who's attending, and I don't care if it's 1 in the morning in your dorm room and you're listening to the thing. Your roommate might care, but the bottom line is, when I see people who struggle, they're typically people who haven't put a lot of the kind of time and effort into the course that they need to. Okay. All right, thank you so much, and I'll stop the share, and then I'll end the recording, and that'll do it.